Let's talk about slabs, baby! As you guys know, I got back into collecting Pokemon through the Japanese collections, and the set that had just come out was Terrestrial Festival. So I bought a couple boxes, opened a couple boxes, and I ended up getting all three of the Eeveelutions. So naturally I went and I got them graded. I submitted them in March of this year and I just got them back, and guess what? All three of them are 10s. But the problem is that now I need to move fast, because even though they just did a reprint, there have been some changes to the way PSA does things due to some geopolitical issues we probably won't get into in this video. In this video, I'm going to go through the process of grading these cards, what it's been like trying to sell them, things that you should look out for if you're getting into the hobby, and I'm also going to tell you my master plan with these. Now, as of right now, the value for all three of these is around $484. That might change as this video comes up, and I might actually put a premium on it because they have sequential skews on PSA grading, and if you're a collector, you love little stuff like that, but we'll get into that too. So here's the problem. They just reprinted Terrestrial Festival. They said they were going to do that because demand was so crazy, but the madmen actually went ahead and did it. That means there's probably about to be a tidal wave of raw cards that are about to hit the market. That Umbreon EX might soon become accessible for the average collector. Reprints hit the market like a truck, and the only way to really tell is to keep a close eye on eBay or on the collector app. But I wouldn't be surprised if in the next 10 months we see a drop of around 30% value for each card as a raw, and that's simply because the supply squeeze is loosening, so the supply of the raw cards is going to go up and the value is going to go down. But graded cards, that's a different story. Right now, PSA is no longer grading things at a lightning speed like they were during COVID. Not only that, but costs have gone up because of tariffs and import values, but this slowdown actually did me a huge favor because it opened up a window. Hopefully it's a window big enough for 3 Eevees to squeeze through. I've got a few weeks, maybe a month tops. My cards are already graded, which means that my margin is the space between those new cards that are printed now coming back from the graders. It's a pretty small gap, but I think that we can finesse it. First, we should talk about what PSA even is. It's pretty much like a stamp of approval that proves your card is a 10 out of 10. In theory, PSA is supposed to judge things like the centering of your card, the width of the borders, and how roughly played the edges of the back are. In reality, it's more or less a crapshoot on how the grader's feeling that day. There have been multiple instances of people recracking cards and resubmitting them and getting a better rating, which proves that it's more of an art than a science. But it's not just a service, it's also a brand. This little label means something. You see, sellers rely on this. Buyers trust it. And yeah, it's more expensive than it used to be, but you're not submitting bulk at $10 a card anymore. I paid $141 to grade these 3 bad boys, and what PSA does now is sometimes charge you extra if the card they rate is going to make it substantially increase in value. But the fact of the matter is that grading is still the smarter long-term play, no matter how you slice it, no matter how much it costs. You're adding scarcity. You are adding it to the inventory and circulation of all the cards worldwide that share the same criteria. PSA actually offers up what the population of each card is in a 10, so you know exactly how rare your asset is in comparison to the rest of the world. Also, even though my cards are Japanese, getting them graded in PSA adds that level of certification, and that makes them more valuable by being more American. You see, PSA slabs don't compete with raw listings. They sit on a different shelf. An Umbreon 10 raw is worth a fraction of what it might be at a perfect 10. If Pokemon cards are an asset class, PSA 10s are blue chip, which is what makes my race against the clock even more dire. I'm going to be doing more of a little series about what different shops around Toronto offer me for the cards, but most of the time they give you a percentage of market value when you go to a store. This is to make up for overhead that the store might have, like rent or paying the employees. Ideally, a store should give you 100% of those cards' trade value in store credit. Ideally. The problem is that a lot of these vendor videos have made people on Facebook Marketplace think that they can accept a percentage per trade value, which is not how it works. You have no overhead. We're meeting in a Tim Hortons gas station parking lot. But the fact is that outside of a card shop, the only way to actually sell your cards is Facebook Marketplace if you don't want to get a hefty cut. eBay takes 15%, Whatnot takes a variety of prices depending on what they feel like that day. Don't get me started. Personally, I'm of the belief that card shops should give you 100% trade-in value, but maybe that's a conversation for a different time. When it comes to Pokemon, everybody has a different goal. It doesn't matter whether you're at a car show, on eBay, or if you yourself are elbows deep in a Japanese booster box. Everybody has a different mission in the game. And honestly, that's kind of what makes a beautiful hobby so beautiful. First, you have the booth guys, okay? These are vendors, these are resellers, these are the real everyday hustlers and heroes of our story. They're not really here for the nostalgia, they're not here for the vibes, they're here for the money. The best example of this in terms of creators is probably Coop. who goes to card shows and gives cards away to kids for free because he has such a beautiful heart. And the free press doesn't hurt either, I'm sure. But listen, if we're talking about the game of buying low and selling high, you're speaking my language. These guys are providing a service, and without them, there is no ecosystem. Then you got the collectors, the people who are actually building a portfolio because it means something special to them. Ideally, in a perfect world, that is exactly who these 3 Eevees would go to. There's so many different types of collecting that it'd be hard to summarize it in one video. Some people go for misprints, some people go for a specific artist, some people go for a specific card or Pokemon. Most people who are legitimate, serious collectors are really chasing 1 or 2 cards when they go to a convention. The deeper you get into the hobby, the weirder everything gets, which kind of makes it more beautiful. But the beauty of starting off with Prismatic or Terrestrial Festival is that the Eevees are a fan favorite. I was actually surprised by how popular the Eevees are because I never really saw the appeal in the games. The stats weren't great, and there's a better Pokemon at each element anyway. But they have those big eyes, so I get it. Plus the Sylveon, which is like a fairly recent addition to the Pokemon universe, is just gorgeous. The collectors are always the ones that spend the most money on the most niche products. For example, these sleeves or slabs have bumpers that can be bought to put along them that will match the color scheme of the card itself. Regular people are not kind of spending that money just to make something look slightly more cool. Next are the players, obviously the people who play the game and make it go around. That's right, folks, there's people who get into these card games to actually use them. What a concept. These people are meta chasers, okay? They're building the decks, they're playing the actual meta, and they are the reason that one of the chase cards from Shrouded Fable is a basic metal energy, okay? When these guys show up to play, they want people to know that they take this stuff seriously. There's tons of really good creators that you can probably look up that are actually playing the game. Personally, not my cup of tea, but I'm sure they're out there. And then, of course, you have the investors. Now, this is not even people like me or like the people I first described in the first group. The best example I can think of when it comes to a real-life investor is PokePlumber. You can look him up on YouTube or Instagram, but pretty much he's got like room full of sealed product that still has the packaging tape on it, okay? This guy invested in the hobby years and years ago, and it is finally starting to pay dividends. These guys are not ripping packs, okay? They are locking everything away in a humidity-proof, airtight container and hoping for a bull run that's happening right now. But at the heart of it all, we're all collectors. Whether or not you're doing it for financial reasons or to chase nostalgia, you're in this hobby because you want to collect. Ultimately, it's all about completing the set. That's who we want to sell to people who are collectors because they will pay the premium for these cards. So where does that leave little old me? The way I see it, I have 2 options. I can either trade all 3 of these, which are about just south of $500 for one big chase card. And if I'm doing that, I'm kind of playing the hustle and flow game of trying to flip things as fast as possible. Or I could take the long game. There's a lot of collectors out there that will give me market value in trade-in, and these are the people who exist really online. Facebook Marketplace, online stores. I've actually had creators that I've followed for months reach out to me after I put these things on Facebook Marketplace, not even knowing who I was or knowing that I knew who they were. If we were to do something big, the thing that would make the most sense is to go after a grail. Now, depending on who you listen to, there's no way to predict the market, but people do think that the Lugia VMAX card is going to go to the moon. They think the same thing about the Magikarp. That one from Paldea Evolved might skyrocket soon. The Galarian birds, the Kantos legendary birds in the stained glass pattern, that one might go to the moon. Nobody really knows for certain, though. What we do know for certain is that some cards are out of print and will never be brought back. Pretty much everything from the Sword and Shield era is kaput. There will be no more reprints of those bad boys. And if you follow this hobby for any amount of time, you know that people are talking about Sun and Moon being the next one that's really going to go to the moon. Not to mention that there's a new set coming out, Inferno X, and that's going to feature the Megas a lot, so there's a good chance that the Megas will go up in value as a result of people becoming interested in them again. Not to mention that the game that comes out this year or next year is going to feature a lot of Megas and alternate Pokemons that are regionals. So the safe money bet would be to trade these bad boys in and get a Mega Slab. Plus they look really cool because they have like writing right on them. As far as Megas go, the Pidgeot and the Gardevoir are within scope of what we could probably get if we sold these. And if we're taking that play, that means we're going to hold on for maybe a 6-month horizon. The only thing to remember is that we're only looking for 10s because the difference between a 9 and a 10 is thousands of dollars. For example, take my personal grail, the Light Arcanine, okay? Just look at the difference between a PSA 10 of this card and a PSA 9. All because the grader was probably in a bad mood. Just kidding. So that's definitely one way that we can go about this. We can trade all 3 for a couple cards and hold on for a little bit. Or we can go to door number 2 involves us going straight modern and holding. Now the horizon for this would probably be like a couple years if we're being honest, at least one until we hit the 30th anniversary. But there's a ton of collectors that have PSA 10s of full art cards that are from the modern era. Maybe like a Layeron or a Ghastly or something like that from Twilight Masquerade. These things exist. The other thing that seems to be coming into vogue right now is tag team cards. For a fraction of the price of all 3 of these, I could actually get a Igglybuff, or no, it's a Jigglypuff, and the Lola Bunny Mega there. I refuse to learn how to actually say that one. But there are slabs that are available for like 50 to 80 bucks, and we can kind of turn our 3 slabs into 5 slabs, maybe 6, maybe 8, and just hold on to it. All I know is that slabs are definitely the way going forward because it's much easier to price them out and they have a baked-in value. It's not a raw card where you're rolling the dice. The thing is, I can't call myself a slab daddy if all I have is 3 slabs. I need to go volume. That means I'm issuing a personal challenge to myself over the summer. I'm gonna see how many slabs I can turn these 3 bad boys into. Now they all have to be 10s, and if I get money for selling these, it has to go right back into slabs. So far, after I've done the math, I've spent about $120 per card. Some of them, like this Jolteon for example, I'd be losing money on for selling it for market value right now. The Sylveon and Vaporeon are different questions altogether, but I do want to get rid of all 3 as a set. Ideally to somebody who pulled the rest of the set and is looking to fill in the missing pieces. So let's see how it goes. We're gonna do some content about going to local card shops and seeing if we can get a percentage. Ideally like 90 would be nice, but 100 would be perfect. It almost begs the question of what is the value of cards if everybody's just giving percentage points? Like there is the number, but if everybody's saying 80, 90, 70, then that number is only really achieved when you get like a real collector. It's kind of like crypto. Everybody's waiting for the last fool to come in to be able to sell them the last seat in their musical chairs game. But I think ultimately the move is to turn these 3 into at least 5 slabs, all 10s. And for that to happen, we're gonna almost certainly have to go with modern sets. So yeah, follow my page to see where this journey takes me this summer. I'm definitely gonna be checking out some card shops. I got a little body camera to do a little bit of, immersive video display, doggy. And I'm taking this so seriously that I'm even tracking my progress in an Excel sheet. That's right, baby. We're in pivot table territory. Anyways, who knows what happens? Tune in next episode to find out. All I know is I got 3 shiny foxes, and soon I'll be having a whole lot more if things go my way anyway. Gary Grindset signing off. Life is just a booster pack. You don't know what you're going to get until you rip it open. Bye-bye.